This is what the turds did to my beautiful Vespa guitar. I told it to the police. They weren't interested. And I said it was a hate crime. Police disagreed. Same guy, Darren Bursma. I've got the soundtrack of the police recording. And Darren Bursma broke my door down. He broke the glass panel. Of frosted glass. He raised his foot in the doorway after turning off my water. He came at 9 o'clock at night and said, "I turned off your tap. Are you watering the garden?" I said, "It's a frog breeding program." And he said, "Very good. What sort of frogs are you breeding?" I said, "Green tree frogs and striped burrowing frogs." This is about 10 years ago. And he said, "We've got a warrant to take you back to the hospital." I ran back into my house, slammed the door, but he wedged his foot in it. 9 o'clock at night to torture me. Tapping over and over again, Melissa Rogers. I know all these people, these crooked cops. Arnold Prince. Arnold Prince is a friend of the South African guy, Steve Green, with the beard and the shaved head. Came to the house with Senior Constable Mike Walters, who said he doesn't know whether Collins is a Freemason, but it doesn't worry him. Worries me. So it says in the Maruka statement, supposedly, the report, that a couple of guitars were stolen. They stole all 6 of my guitars. My beautiful Ibanez semi-acoustic electric guitar from the 1970s or 80s. I bought it second hand. Beautiful, beautiful guitar. And my Ibanez acoustic, another beautiful guitar. The resonance of the guitars change the more you play them, depending on what you play. Yeah, and it's included my Asturias classical guitar that the Victorian police had already smashed. Then they stole my Valencia guitars. I had 2 of them. One for my daughters, the little one, and the one that I used to play. Then they also stole my Fender jazz bass, precision bass, beautiful black bass guitar that I've been playing for 30 years. The reason that Senior Sergeant Tony Collins didn't investigate, it's simple. They were involved. He was in charge. Now I'll show you something else. This property here, 79 Fegan Drive, was owned by Matthew and Sons Real Estate. The daughter of Ken, I think he is, Matthews. They had one brother who was in charge of real estate and another one in charge of sales. And that's who I rented the house from, near the Monopoly on Maruka. Matthews and Son Real Estate. That's where I rented the house that I lived in Fairfield. back in 2002. That happens to be when Matthews and Son Real Estate, the woman, I can't remember her name, his daughter, bought this house in 2002. I was told that by their son, who sold the house. He was amazed by the price that they got. He was a nice guy. He confirmed that his father is a Freemason. Now over there, right there, with two spotlight bulbs. One was Mirabella, which I strongly suspect is the Italian mafia, and the other is Crompton Lighting, a British company. Crompton Lighting, which is associated with Schneider Electrical. It's not a coincidence that I was locked up and tortured 5 times in 2002 after being abducted from Crutchley Street, 8 Crutchley Street. I was at the Brisbane City Council. Yeah, 8 Crutchley Street. Crutchley is an unusual name. It so happened that the police officer from Maruka took a statement from me and from Sarah DeGeneres at 81 Forest Street, who had the mother of my daughter Zoe. His name was Stephen Crutchley. Stephen Crutchley. I was tortured by Paul Schneider under the directorship of David Crompton. Now that's more than a coincidence, isn't it? Who's this person? Yeah. So I spoke to Alana Trail, the manager of the obviously corrupt risk enforcement and litigation team. It was the police. Mike Walters said they were going to clean up my yard and get rid of the vermin. She said they took away the dead plant material, dead vegetation. As you can see, it wasn't dead vegetation at all. They brutalized and plundered my garden. I had thousands of bamboo. Bamboo, the Brisbane City Council didn't allow us to grow bamboo. They had a policy of every drop counts, don't use water. If you don't use water, it doesn't rain, particularly inland, because the Great Dividing Range and the forests on it are what makes it rain. I've explained this over and over. It's been known to our people, including my aunt, great aunt Sirima Bandaranaike, that my father hates so much. Sirima Bandaranaike was the widow of S.W.R.D. Bandaranaike, who was my father's uncle. His sister was my great-grandmother. Her name was Charlotte Das Bandaranaike. She became Charlotte Seniviratne after marrying Solomon Seniviratne. I got a photograph of her, looking high and mighty in her Victorian garb. She used to whip the servants. Not whip the servants, whip the villagers if they wouldn't climb down into the gutter when she rode past on her horse. She was addicted to Scotch whiskey and died of cirrhosis. That was the mother of my illiterate grandfather, the father of my father, Philip Senurosnet, a remarkably stupid man, towards his mother, Nini Tamarakuri, remarkably stupid woman. My mother's family was very clever, especially both my grandfather and my grandmother, but mainly my grandmother. My grandmother was a brilliant mathematician. She got a maths degree in 1923 from India. My mother's ancestors come from Indus Valley, famous for its irrigation systems. I got that by doing my DNA on GeneBase. But GeneBase doesn't depends on the data that they have access to. It's a Canadian company. These people are the black Canadian spies. They've got a maple tree and Wilson transformers, high tension line on the top. It doesn't come over here. It goes to Wilson's Timbers. Wilson family. I went to university with Tony Wilson from the Wilson family. He was proud that he had had sex with 200 girls by the time he was 18. He's a surgeon now, along with Whittle, Andrew Whittle. This street is Whittle Street. Yeah, I've got a lot to tell you about Andrew Whittle. He's the one who first got me drunk when I was 17. Got me to Skull beers. He carried me unconscious across the dance floor at the Fijian night. The University of Queensland Fijian night was all of the events were centered on alcohol. You see how peacefully they feed together? They're all friends. So, I'm using grey water. That's what they call it. Just run off from the bath. But this fella, Miller, he's got a spy operation going that you can see quite clearly. Those don't turn because of the heat that they claim. They turn because the transmitters hacking into my data. So as I said, I'm claiming $20 per byte. All the data that's been stolen by these people, and 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 these people. I'm also demanding that Jeff and Heidi Miller be arrested without delay and charged for their crimes, along with Carl Griffiths, Steve Griffiths, corrupt members of the Maruka Police, corrupt members of the PA Hospital, which is a hell of a lot of people, so they reckon they cleaned up my place, cleaned up my yard. They call this cleaning up my yard. Look what they did to my tree. The beautiful Poinciana tree. Brutalized it. This is why its leaves are wilted. You can see the wilting of the leaves. Yeah, they brutalized it. It's terrible. Very upsetting. And they stole millions of dollars worth of plants from here. My sister paid them a bribe using my mother's money of $40,000. Now they're saying they want me to pay. They want me to pay for the destruction of my garden, my forest. I want Jacob Mead, Paul Maloney, Gia Tran, Brett Sell, Alana Trail, and all the people responsible for this heinous crime against nature and crime against me and my children and my people. So I'm tendering this as evidence, it's conclusive evidence, against Jeff and Heidi Miller, Jeffrey Mitchell Miller and Heidi Miller, and their son. Their daughter Jessica is really nice. She's a brilliant, she's a prodigy, child prodigy on saxophone. I lent her my saxophone, one of my saxophones. I used to compliment her. I also lent her my Casio keyboard. And I invited Jeff and Heidi Miller around for dinner shortly after I arrived here. They didn't reciprocate. Yes, Jeff Miller has got me locked up at least 30 times. And my father was in communication with him. So was Chandran Richards. Came and spoke to both Morell and Miller that I might grow cannabis plants. These people are drunkards. Miller was on something to cure his alcoholism, a tablet. He spies for Brisbane Roar, for the Brisbane Lions. So these smart asses all say don't feed birds bread. Nothing wrong with feeding bread. They're just trying to make money for Woolworths, which is run by the Italian mafia and Greek mafia. The mafia also Grollo Empire. It's mafia. That's who Sarah's father worked for. He was second in charge. Sarah said that he was Bruno Grollo's bouncer. And he used to run Lygon Street, where all the bars are. Spent all his money on gambling. Because of his stupidity, he was trying to fill in every permutation and combination of numbers on the Tats Lotto. Every drawer, Sarah told me, was full of his Tats Lotto forms. That's why they lured me, Sarah lured me, to help her father win Tats Lotto with my mathematical knowledge. I got the maths prize. The advanced maths prize, that's calculus, statistics, trigonometry, set theory, real and imaginary numbers, square root of -1. I learned all of that. I was a top student at Jesuit in grammar school. So when I talk about mathematics and science, I speak with considerable authority. And I can tell you, Stephen Hawking was an idiot, a vain, arrogant idiot before he got motor neuron disease. And the best that Cambridge can produce, sir. Roger Penrose. His father was a professor of eugenics. I didn't know that there was such a thing as a professor of eugenics. I'm going to show you something that is serendipitous. The word serendipitous comes from Sri Lanka. It used to be called serendip. Serendipitous is a lucky find. Yeah, so I'm trying to get the water to go down to my tree and see whether I can save it. But this is what I wanted to show you. These are my tools. I don't use motors. These people slash everything, poison everything, poison ants. Ants are vital parts of the ecology. How many millions of life forms were killed by these people? A monstrous crime against nature. They're also involved in monstrous crimes against humanity. But I promise you, I'll show you the good news, so I'll show it to you right now. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Sinhala, Ekai, Dekai, Tunai, Hatrai, Pai, Hai, Hatai. 7. In Tamil, Undu, Rundu, Mundu, Nala, Aindu, Aru, Uttu. I think German is on, zwei, drei, vier, fünf, ocho, nueve. I might be wrong. In Spanish it's un, dos, tres, cuatro, cinco, seis, siete. Yeah. These are things that I'm counting. A royal Ponciana trees that are so seeded. And I've got more than 100, more like 150. And they're coming up all the time. That's because of my years of organic agriculture and horticulture. Horticulture is the study of plants, or the growing of flowers, Horticulture is the story of the flowering. Horticulture, agriculture, and then there's